Today we are going to talk about cost of capital, cost of capital, or the financing decision. So, cost of capital or financing decision. So, we shall start with the definition of cost of capital, which we shall also term it as financing decision. So, financing decision stroke cost of capital. So, financing decision or cost of capital. So, financing decision or what we call the cost of capital. And the definition, we shall define this item in two ways. Number one, we shall consider the business perspective and the owner's perspective. So let us start with the uh, business perspective. Let us start with the business uh, perspective. So business perspective. So definition of cost of capital. Definition of cost of capital. And business perspective. Business perspective. Now, under business perspective, cost of capital refers to the cost incurred to obtain funds for the business. So, under business perspective, when we talk about cost of capital, we say that it refers the cost incurred by the firm to obtain additional funds. So, when we talk about the definition of cost of capital under business perspective, as I said, refers to the cost which is incurred by the firm in order to obtain new funds or additional funds for the business. So it can either be additional or new funds. So additional means you are adding, or it's just new funds. You have never obtained such kind of a fund previously as an organization. So example of those cost of capital that we're talking about is payment of dividends to the shareholders. You can also have payment of interest to the banks, etc. So those are examples. We have others, but for now we can go with that one. Then we can check on the definition also and as owner's perspective. So also we can have another definition of cost of capital, and owner's perspective. So when we talk about owner's perspective, we mean the people who provide money to the business. Now, the owners of the finances. So those who have provided money to the organization. For example, the shareholders, they have provided their money in exchange for shares, and the bank, they have provided loan to the organization. So those are what we call the owners of business. So how do they define cost of capital? This is the definition, and the definition is it refers to the required rate of return by the investor. So it refers to the required rate of return by the investor who have invested their money into the company. So the required rate of return to the uh, investors. Let us write down. So, and as owner's perspective, as I said, refers to the required rate of return by the investors who have provided their funds to the company. Now they are receiving, they are not paying. So it's a return. That's why we are talking about the required rate of return, because it's a return to them. They are receiving. Now, on the first definition under business perspective, because the business is paying, then it is the cost to them. But the people receiving, it is required, it is defined as the required rate of return. So it's a two-way street. One is a receiving definition, the other one is a paying definition. So the first one, because the business received the money and they need to pay, uh, to pay. Now the cost which they pay because they use the money is what we call the cost of capital under business perspective. So payment of dividend, paying of interest, etc. Then those who had provided the money. So we have those people, the shareholders or the bank in terms of loan, they have provided the money to the institution. Now, when the business is paying them, remember, when the business is paying them, it is the cost of the business. But when these people being paid are receiving, to them, it's a return. And therefore, we are talking about the required rate of return by the investors who have provided their funds to the company, i.e., dividend received by the shareholders, and the interest received by the financial institution for providing money, etc. So, etc. So those are the definitions that you can find when we talk about cost of capital. Now let us see the component cost of capital. Component component cost of capital. Other people call them the specific cost of capital. Other people call them the specific cost of capital. So you can find other people call them specific. It's the same thing. Specific cost of capital. It will mean the same thing. So what is it, and why is it relevant? So it refers to the cost of individual component cost of capital. So it refers to the cost of the individual component cost of capital. So refers this pen is not working. So tunasema refers to the cost of the individual component cost of capital. So refers to the cost of individual component cost of capital. Cost of capital. And you can give examples. You can try and give examples. Remember, these components are relevant because it assists us in determining the weighted average cost of capital and the weighted marginal cost of capital. So it is important for us to determine the cost of capital for the weighted average and for the weighted marginal. So it is important. So that's the relevance of studying the components. So, but refer to the cost of the individual component cost of capital. So they include the following. They include number A, cost of equity. Cost of equity, and under cost of equity, it is divided into two. Cost of ordinary share capital. So this one is ordinary share capital. Ordinary share capital. Cost of retained earnings. Retained earnings. That is number one. Number B, we have cost of debt. Number C, we have cost of preference shares. Number D, we have cost of debentures stroke bond. So hapa tutafanya debentures stroke bond, debenture stroke bond. So we can start with the first one. Let's start with the first one, cost of equity. Let me change the pen so as to highlight. Let's start with cost of equity. Cost of equity. Now, for cost of equity, as you have said, uh, how do we get cost of equity? So we start with the first one. Let's start with the cost of ordinary share capital, which I call it KR. KR means ordinary. Sorry, KE. KE. Start with KE. Cost of ordinary share capital. Cost of ordinary share capital, and it will given us DO 1 plus G over MPS, market price of the ordinary shares, minus flotation cost plus G, then you multiply by 100. This one is for paid dividend. So this is for paid dividend. Paid dividend. So in the case where the dividend is paid, that is the formula you use. So in the case where dividend is paid, that's the formula that you use. Then we have this one is another one formula, KE D1 over MPS minus flotation cost plus G times 100. This one is in the case where the dividend is expected. This is for expected dividends. This one is for expected dividends. Say dividends. Then I start. So DO means paid dividend. G means growth rate. MPS, market price of ordinary share capital. Market price of ordinary share capital. Remember, another name of the ordinary share capital is the desired fund. So remember, another name of ordinary share capital is called desired fund. Desired fund. It's another name of the ordinary share capital. What is FC is the flotation cost. Flotation cost. We shall define it later. Flotation cost. That is the definition. Flotation cost. We can define the flotation cost here on this other side. Let's define flotation cost, and we say flotation cost. This is the cost incurred when raising new funds. This is the cost incurred when raising new funds. So that cost that we incur when raising new funds is called flotation cost. Flotation cost. Cost incurred when raising new fund. When raising new funds. That's correct. So any cost that the business incur when raising new funds is what we call the flotation cost. Number two, we can go to the next one. This one is done. We can go to the next one, which is cost of retained earnings, KR. Now, KR is given as DO 1 plus G MPS plus G times 100. Times 100. So it's the same with the first one, except that the retained earnings does not have the flotation cost. So the only difference is it does not have flotation cost. This one is for in the case of the dividend paid. Dividend paid. Then we have in the case where the dividend is expected, so it upon a D1 MPS plus G times 100. In this case, expected. It's the case of expected dividends. Then the notation are the same, or the abbreviations. Abbreviation or notation, I don't know which one is which. Abbreviation or notation, whichever. DO is paid dividend, G is the growth rate, MPS is the market price of the ordinary shares, and FC the flotation cost. So when it comes to cost of equity, we have two items. The cost of the first one, this one is supposed to be cost of ordinary share capital. So the first one is ordinary share capital, and the second one is the cost of retained earnings. So they are similar, except that this one has flotation cost, the other one does not have flotation cost. The other items are same, or they are similar in that manner. Okay, that one being said, I think we can proceed to the next item. Item number B, cost of debt. Cost of debt. So we can have with flotation cost, and without flotation cost. Now, cost of debt, we call it loan, stroke loan. I call it stroke loan. Make it easy. So KD, you can call it KD, or you can also call it KL, cost of debt. Cost of debt or cost of loan, whichever notation you pick. Yeah, without flotation cost is equal to the interest rate, one minus tax. So T is the tax rate. And then NB, you need to remember that interest rate as a percentage is in form of percentage. So the interest rate provided there is in form of percentage. So you need to remember that the interest rate provided, it is in form of percentage. It's in form of percentage. It is in form of percentage. Now let us look without flotation cost. Now without flotation, let us look now with flotation cost. So what will be the formula for that one? If we have what we call the flotation cost, this will be the formula. Now when we have flotation cost, KL will be given as follows: interest 1 minus T over value of loan VL minus FC. Then what you get, you multiply by 100. What you get, you multiply by 100. Now, VL in this case, the value of loan. T is the same as the tax rate. FC in flotation cost. So when you now, what you need to know that interest is in value and not percentage. So you need to note this one. So when you talk about with flotation cost, this interest provided, this one must be in value. But when you talk about this interest here, when you have without flotation, the interest is in percentage. So you need to be very keen. You need to be very keen. So you remember that is the end of number A, number B. Number C, we can talk about KP, preference shares. So cost of preference shares, which is KP. Now KP is given as follows. So KP it's given as follows. uh, dividend over market price per share minus rotation cost. If there is, then you multiply by 100. NB, you need to know this is you need to know this one. NB dividend is given as follows: dividend is equals to the percentage of par value. So you need to know that one. So how do you get dividends? You take the percentage, the interest, or the rate of the preference shares, the interest of the preference shares, which is in form of percentage. You multiply with the par value to get the dividend. So that's very, very important. So MPS, ukumbuke this one, MPS is the market value of the preference shares and don't use the market price of ordinary share capital. So mtu mwingine atatumia the market price of the equity or the ordinary share capital akuja aweke hapa. That one is wrong. So the market price of the preference shares. So kama tuko hapa ukiongea market price hapa unaongea market price of ordinary share. Ukikuja hapa market price unaongea market price of the preference shares and not the market price of any other thing. So that one is okay. Tumemaliza nayo. Well, let's go to the last one. Cost of debenture. Cost of debenture. So with debenture, you can have two of them, redeemable and irredeemable. So irredeemable and redeemable. You can start with the irredeemable. So start with number one. Irredeemable debentures. Irredeemable debenture. Irredeemable debenture. So when we talk about irredeemable, when we talk about the irredeemable, this one is supposed to be double L. Not double L, double R. When we talk about the irredeemable in that form. So these are the debentures with no maturity period. So you cannot redeem them. So they are irredeemable, meaning they do not have maturity period. So this, we talk about the irredeemable debenture. These are the debentures which do not have maturity period. So KD, how do we get it? So KD is equals to the interest 1 minus T over VD. Then what you get, you multiply by 100. So VD is the value of the debenture. So VD, value of debenture. And then T tax rate, normal. And then now NB interest. NB interest is in value. Interest is in value and not percentage. So we'll be very keen. So the interest is in value. So when you talk about the value of the debenture, you can call it the current value. The current value. Yeah, but you can call it the market price. Market price is the current market price. Stroke the current. We can also say stroke current market price. The value of the loan, you can also call it the current value of the loan, current loan amount value. So current, the one which is trading. So the trading amount. That one is okay. That one is okay. As we said here, remember here, where is it? Here. Where is it? This one. Dividend is equal to percentage of par value, meaning the dividend is in value. So remember, though, if this dividend is also in value and not percentage, this dividend, this one dividend is also in value and not percentage. So it's the percentage of the par value, or you can also say percentage of the nominal value. So it can be the percentage of the par value or the nominal value, which is the same thing. So nominal value, par value, or the face value, they are the same thing. Or the face value. Same applies to the other one. Same applies to this one, interest. So how do you get the interest? Interest is equal to the percentage of the nominal value or the nominal value or the par value. These are the same thing. Par value or the face value. All the face value. So they are the same thing. So they are the same thing. Talk about the redeemable. Let us talk about the redeemable. You allow me to rub. Let me rub one part so that we talk about the redeemable. Allow me to rub. So redeemable debenture. Now in this case we have the maturity period. So the other one did not have. The other one was a form of debenture that did not have what we call the maturity period. But now in this case now it is a form of debenture where we have a specific maturity period. The cost of this debenture is also called the yield to maturity. It's also called, let's say, it is also called yield to maturity. Yield to maturity. YTM. Yield to maturity. Now, how do you get it? So, yield to maturity, or what you call the KD, which is the same thing, is equal to interest, which is in form of value. Interest plus. Now we are supposed to add the market value of the debenture plus the minus market value minus the VD 1 over N. Yeah. Then everything you divide by the MD plus VD 1 over 2. And then you multiply with 1 minus tax. Then what you get, you multiply by 100%. Then what you get, you multiply with 100%. So MV, the maturity value or the par value. So MD, the maturity period. So the maturity value, not period, or the par value of debenture or the bond, debenture or the bond, whichever. It can also be the nominal value. It can also be the face value. VD, that is the value of the market value, the kind of value of the debenture, or the value, current value of debenture, or the market price of debenture. N maturity period. Maturity period. What else? T is the tax rate. T is the tax rate. So YTM is the yield to maturity. So YTM is the yield to maturity. KD is the cost of debenture. So KD is the cost of debenture. That is all about it. That is all about it. We can talk about. Let us talk about the weighted average cost of capital. So weighted average cost of capital. What? Weighted average cost of capital. What is the weighted average cost of capital? Now, this is the overall cost of capital. already invested in the company. So existing. So when we talk about already invested, it means existing cost of capital. So it refers to the existing cost of capital. So we say this is the overall cost of existing. So underline the word existing cost of capital. So this is the overall cost of the existing cost of capital. Refer to the overall cost of the existing. So the funds in the company. Funds in the company or the organization. Now the difference between work and the other one is that one is for the existing, the other one is for the additional or the new. So when we talk about the new, it is not about the weighted average. So when you see that the firm want to add new finance or extra finance, then you know that it is not the weighted average. Weighted average is the cost of the existing funds already within the organization. Uh, then we can say it is used to discount existing projects of the company of the company as discounting rate. So when the company want to appraise the project, the existing project, they will use what we call the weighted average cost of capital. So this one is for the existing project. So when they want to see the viability of the existing project, they are going to use the weighted average at the discounting rate. But if they want to discount or to check the viability of new projects, then they will not use the weighted average cost of capital. They will not use the weighted average cost of capital. Let us look at the formula. Now, work is equals to KE weight of E plus KD weight of D plus KP weight of P. Where so KE cost of ordinary share capital, cost of ordinary share capital, cost of the ordinary share capital. And then WE is the weight of ordinary share capital. KD is the cost of debt. You can also say debenture if it is about debenture, depending, debenture, etc. We are any other thing. Then we have weight of the debenture, weight of the debt or the debenture, etc. And then we can have KP, which is the cost of the preference or the preferred share capital. And then we have weight WP, weight of the preference shares. Now, how do you get the weight? So we are from our previous studies, not our previous, the lesson that we just in this lesson, but as we were starting, we saw how to get the KE, KD, and KP. Now, how do we get the WE or the weight of each? Now, for example, if you want to get the weight of equity, the weight of equity, so not equity, the weight of ordinary share capital is equals to the total value of ordinary share capital you divide by the total value of all sources of finance, na nakuwekea jina current so that you know it is the current. So you get this value from the market price. So the current means you get the total value from the market price. You get the total value from the market price. Now, if you want to get for debt, it will be the total value of the debt. Remember, it is also current. Current means it goes hand in hand with the market price. It goes handy with the market price. So total value of debt or debt, debenture, etc. Remember, it is current over total value of all sources of finance. And tunasema the word current. Reason why? Because it uses the market price. So when we talk about current, remember, when we talk about current, we are talking about it uses the market price per share, because the market price per share is what is currently trading. It's what is in currently trading. Same applies to the WP. You take the total value of the preference shares. You take the total value of the preference shares. It values the total value of the total value of all sources of finance which is available. But remember, under current. That one being said, I think we can wrap up the class up to that point. I don't know the time. Or we can do. Let us do the marginal cost of capital. Let us just don't wrap up the next 5 minutes because I can see we have time. I prefer my class to be around 45 minutes, not more than 45, so that you don't get bored. Okay. So let us talk about the weighted marginal cost of capital. Weighted marginal cost of capital, WMCC. So the weighted marginal cost of capital, what is it and why is it relevant? So for the weighted average, we saw that this is the cost of the overall cost of the existing. Now, but when you talk about the new project or the additional, then we shift our gears to the weighted marginal cost of capital, to the weighted marginal cost of capital. So we say this is the average overall cost of the new funds to be raised. So refer to the overall cost, refers to the overall cost of new funds to be raised. And write the word new. So this one I said it was existing. So the other one is the new funds. So for the overall cost of the new funds to be raised. And then when raising new funds, when raising new funds, the company incurs additional cost cost called, so that cost is called the flotation cost. So remember, as in our in this class, as wakati tulikuwa tunaanza, we said that the flotation cost is the cost incurred in raising new funds, and that's what we are saying here. When raising new funds, the company incurred general cost called the flotation cost. Called the flotation cost. That is the cost. Now, as you can see here, this formula, look at this formula clearly. Retained earnings was not considered. So you can also put an NB somewhere. WACC do not consider retained earnings. Retained earnings, the KR does not consider the KR. Now, but then in the other side, the KR must be considered. This one, it considers KR. So what's the formula? What is the formula? So just a small formula, we say KE, weight of E, plus KR, weight of R, KP, weight of P, plus KD, weight of D. That one is okay. And then also we can say it is used to discount. It is used to discount new or additional projects as discounting rate. So remember the other one we said it is used to discount the existing. This one is used to discount the new projects. It is used to discount the new projects. Used to discount the new projects. Now let us see the decision criteria. Decision criteria. Criterion. I think that is the correct one. So when work stroke the WMCC is greater than IRR, we accept the project. Then when work or the WMCC is less than IRR, we reject the project. Then when work is equal to IRR, now we accept the project. We accept the project. Now we meet in our lesson 2. We do some questions. So this one marks the end of our class. I wanted to finish class within 45 minutes. And I can see that we are already in the 43 minutes mark. Now we can give some differences for the remaining 2 minutes. Difference between work and WMCC. Number 1, cost of existing fund. The other one is the cost of new fund. Cost of new fund. Remember to put the word overall. Overall. So remember to put the word overall cost. Overall cost of existing fund. Number 2, we can talk about does not consider flotation cost. Flotation cost when determining total value of each source. So when you say total value, means the aggregate amount in thousand, in million, blah blah blah. And the other one, it does consider the flotation cost. Number three, discounting rate. It is a discounting rate for existing project. The other one is this, it is a discounting rate. The discounting rate for new projects. So it acts as a discounting rate for existing, for work. The other one, it acts as a discounting rate for new project. Then the last one, you can talk about the issue of retained earnings. Does not consider retained earnings. The other one, we say it considers retained earnings. It considers retained earnings. So we are past 45 minutes. So let us meet for the next class in our next lesson. So that's all about for today. When we meet in our next class, we shall do some questions.